that God's authority is good for us. When we live under God's authority, he calls us to go. But he doesn't just send us out, he sends us with that authority. We heard from Francis and from Sarah's testimony that following Jesus' authority is often costly and dangerous. But that is the call for followers of Jesus. What will we do with the authority that we have been given? Do we sit on it? Or do we follow Jesus into difficult places? Oftentimes we choose to sit on it because we value comfort. And that is part of our privilege. Comfort is a sign of our privilege. When we have a privilege, we have the luxury of waiting. If I can be honest, as a Black woman, over the past 18 months, it has been difficult at times. With some of my close friends, we spent times praying and mourning, talking, lamenting, and waiting. As I seen new hashtags come up or new articles on Facebook, I thought maybe now the church will arise. Okay, this is a safer scenario. No gun, yes, okay, now they will arise. A 12-year-old, yes, now they will arise. 9 people praying in the church, now they will arise. And yet I still sat waiting. After each incident, I waited. Some of you in this room is who I'm waiting for. We have to put ourselves in a position of discomfort to bring about the change that we want to see to fight against injustice. But as I wait for people to rise up, I felt like the Lord also challenged me to see who's waiting for you. So as I wait for people to respond to me and to wake up, the Lord has said, you have privilege and you are comfortable. So as I sat listening to Sarah's testimony, I think about my interaction with the persecuted church. As I see reports of beheadings, I think that's unfortunate, and I changed the channel. My question for myself is, when will I wake up and respond in the same way I'm inviting my brothers who are not Black to? And so the challenge is, what are we waiting for? Where is God calling us to wake up and to act in his authority to bring about hope, to bring about justice, and to bring about change? I love what Craven said. Our call tonight is to hear the story of what's happening in America, what's happening in Canada, but what's happening in the global church around the world. To feel the story, to believe the story, and to advocate for this story. The story here in Ferguson and in St. Louis, the story in Iran, the story in China, and the stories to the ends of the earth. God is calling us to respond. Many of us are stuck thinking through what is next. We have seminars that will help you think through, what do I do with what God is saying to me right now? So as you look through your handbooks and your apps, I invite you to take a moment to pray and say, Lord, what's the next action step for what you told me to do tonight? Another thing that you can do to process all that God is saying is to go to prayer. We have 3 different ways that you can engage in prayer at Urbana. Tomorrow from 1 to 6:30, you can get prayer ministry if you're still wrestling through some of the things that have been said here tonight. And lastly, roommate huddles. I invite you not to rush through what God has done this night, but sit, talk, process, and pray with the people you've been gathering with. Can we do that, team? Can we do that, team? All right, that's better. Okay, so we have talked about some issues today that the church has struggled to talk about. Authority, persecution, injustice. So I figured we might as well add one more to the list. Sex. Today's book of the day is called Redeeming Sex. Conversations about sex, sexuality, and gender are everywhere. You can hardly go a day without encountering it in some sphere of your life. However, the church is generally strangely silent, and that leaves many of us stuck, confused, fearful, and defensive. How can we, as followers of Jesus, engage in the issues surrounding sexuality in the world and in our own lives? How can we communicate Jesus' goodness and authority to a deeply wounded world? In Redeeming Sex, Deb Hirsch offers some of the most honest and real reflections on sex that I have ever read. She presents a holistic biblical view of sex and gender that honors God, but also presents the world good news. She quickly cuts beyond the surface conversations that we have in the church about sex and challenges us to engage in the story that's happening all around us. She presents a path to help the church better understand our missteps in explaining and understanding sex and sexuality, and helps us begin to restore the relationship with the LGBTQ community. If you're struggling with your own sexual identity or struggling to relate to all people as God image bearers, no matter where you fall in the spectrum, this book has helpful perspectives for you. If we are serious about expressing Jesus' love as we partner with him in mission in the future, we must love to show love and learn from the people whose stories surround us today. This book will give you a better understanding of the intersection of sexuality and spirituality. And she's just very funny and engaging. I highly recommend this book to you. So normally, this book would be $16. And at $16, it would be well worth it. It would. But, because y'all on my team, you can get this book today, just $5. I don't know where else you can learn all about sex for $5 in a biblical way. You should buy this book today. I had to make sure I say it in a biblical way. For our last couple closing announcements, team, you have been doing an amazing job with your uniforms. You have. I've been seeing everybody in the crowd. I love it. I don't have my uniform on. Sorry. Next time, I'm going to be ready. As we enter into the American Center, it will really help the people who are checking our IDs if you could make them visible. So just as you're walking through, if you can hold up your wristband, show them your name tag, that will help with the flow of traffic. Lastly, we are actually expecting ice. So for some of you guys from California, it's like when they hit... It's like when rain comes down, it's really cold, you can slip on it. Be careful. Be careful. Y'all signed a waiver, so you can't sue Urbana, but be careful when y'all see the ice. Walk with caution along the paths on your way here. We want y'all to be on time tomorrow for your morning Bible studies, so don't slip. Watch out for the ice, and go in peace.